has bowled.
Tremendous catch, tumbling forward.
And he's bowled.
From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London, where it's half-term holidays for the school kids over here, so half-term means a house full. At the moment, I've got my brother and my niece and nephew staying with me for a few days, so we'll be out and about exploring London, which is sort of gearing up for Halloween at the moment. Lots of spooky pumpkins and ghosts and ghouls in the windows of people's houses as you walk around the streets. But we're also enjoying the early starts to keep on top of the Cricket World Cup, of course, the T20.
Hello from Sydney, Jim Maxwell here. And whilst Duckworth Lewis and the World Cup have been having a bit of fun in the last few days, I've been down in Bowral at the Bradman Museum, where the ABC is putting together a documentary tracing the lives of Tendulkar and Bradman when they were youngsters. And look out for that when it comes out in the new year.
And I'm Charu Sharma for All India Radio. I remember going back for Stumped to Bowral many years ago. It was a wonderful trip. But I am in Bangalore one more week before I disappear for a few weeks. Luckily, the weather has taken a turn for the better. No more rain, a little bit of sunshine. It's getting cooler as well. But of course, all eyes and ears on the T20 World Cup, where we did see the match for the ages. I suppose we'll feast on it. But there's even bigger news, if possible. The women in India should be delighted, and I suppose women around the world, because the BCCI has sent out a tweet saying that there will be now equal pay for all match fee for women and men. Couldn't have been bigger, better news for the women, especially in India, and I suppose women cricketers around the world.
Yeah, I saw that, Charu. Excellent news. And Mitali Raj, the former India captain, has tweeted about that, saying it's an historic decision for women's cricket. The pay equity policy, along with the women's IPL next year, she says we are ushering into a new era for women's cricket in India. So that is hugely significant news. And of course, coming off the back of what was a remarkable, extraordinary India-Pakistan encounter at the T20 World Cup. I mean, when India and Pakistan face each other, well, how often are we disappointed? Rarely. There's often so much build-up. Sometimes the matches don't live up to the hype. This one, though, well, we couldn't have ever envisaged quite what we saw when the two teams met at the Melbourne Cricket Ground.
They're up on the offside. Harris Ralph trying to get out of the over. On middle stump. Virat lifts it over the right for 6 more.
Oh, goodness.
This is greatness uninhibited from Virat Kohli. This has been an absurd game of cricket.
What a spectacle.
13 needed off 3. Virat's got to hit a couple out the park. Nawaz, full toss. Virat's got it. Over deep backward square. 6. Virat Kohli awaits. He's bowled off a free hit. They're going to run off the ricochet. Pakistan had no idea. The ball spits down to third man. It's picked up by Shaheen Sharafridi, and they come back and run 3 off the free hit. What a game of cricket. 2 needed off the last ball. Ashwin whacking away. Virat watching on. Nawaz on his way in. Bowls a wide down the leg side. He's bowled a wide. India can't lose. Mohammad Nawaz. India need 1 off 1. Ashwin hits it over mid-off for the win. Volcanic joy for India. Devastation for Pakistan. India win by 4 wickets off the last ball.
Well, I just thought that was a superb call of commentary by Corbin Middlemiss for the ABC, and it was on TMS back in the UK as well. But goodness, 3 balls left. India needing 13 from 3. Pakistan wilting. India, inspired by Virat Kohli's ultimate 82 off 53 balls. You heard they're winning off the final ball of the match. And Charu, Virat Kohli had a tear in his eye, which you don't usually see. What were your emotions even as you were watching that?
Well, I must confess, being a bit of a veteran, I didn't have a tear in my eye, but what a match. Could you have written a better script? No one could have. And that final over, just how dramatic was it? I don't think people are giving enough credit to this thing called good fortune, particularly the ball that cannoned onto the stumps. It was a free hit. Yes, he couldn't have gotten out, but normally the ball would have stayed somewhere around the stumps. He wouldn't have gotten all those runs. but they ran 3 and made it so much easier. And even then, with Dinesh Karthik getting out, Ashwin coming in, he's a pretty competent bat, but look at the kind of pressure that he must have been in with Virat Kohli on the other side stranded, and yet good sense, I suppose, to just stay at his crease and outguess the bowler. Nawaz bowling that wide, making it so much easier for India pressure-wise, because then they couldn't lose. And finally, of course, Ashwin hitting the winning runs was just magnificent, because even then, there could have been some drama. But what a knock by Kohli. 3 years of, well, should we say, criticism or a very long rope to Virat Kohli, and he finally comes good. What an occasion, what an opportunity. Just magical, that match. And of course, commiserations to Pakistan, because they played really well. Just lost the plot somewhere, particularly in the last over. And, you end up on the losing side. There's been so much criticism in Pakistan, but if I were a Pakistan fan, I'd say, hey, listen, you guys played really well. It just didn't turn out for you on that day.
Yeah, there was footage, wasn't there, from inside the Pakistan dressing room at the MCG afterwards, with Baba Azam speaking to the team, Matthew Hayden addressing the team, Saqlain Mushtaq addressing the team. And yeah, they're just trying to say, we did our best. It wasn't our day. It didn't work this time. We got close. Well done. And then you've got to move on, because that was only the first game, of the tournament for these two teams meeting. It was extraordinary, quite an extraordinary event, and made more so, I think, because of, if we sort of get into a bit of the nitty gritty of it, we heard there in the call, it was Ashwin who hit the winning run, and he was out there having to face the first ball, if you like. They ran, there was a catch, wasn't there? They ran. But the new rule, the new law says, Jim, that whenever a batter is out caught, the new batter has to come in and face immediately. Whereas in the past, if the batter's crossed whilst the ball was in the air and then the catch is taken, you could have kept Kohli on strike, and that would have been a tactical part of the game. But the wicket fell. The new batter comes in. He has to face straight away. Did you like that new rule, Jim? Does it take anything away from the game? Does it add to the game?
Well, it did on this occasion, but I think it's fair enough. I think there are some other anomalies about when the ball is dead and when it's not. We do have lots of anomalies in the game, but I think on this one, with a catch, I think it's fair enough. And I'm sure India would agree with me.
I bet they would, absolutely. To both of you then, was this the best T20 match that you've ever seen? Charu?
Well, yeah, thanks for making me go first. We've all watched so many, and the T20 game is engineered to produce these kind of finishes. So, yeah, if you dig deeper into memory, there'll be many that finished on the last ball in an equally dramatic fashion. I remember one that finished, well, that was some other league, mind you, with a 6 and a 6 and 11 required. So there'll be many such instances. The whole Brathwaite, 666, that was a different situation. But so, yeah, there are many matches, but overall, just the drama, the start of a T20 World Cup, what a fire lit under the T20 World Cup here with this kind of a match. It focuses the world's attention. The kind of rivalry they enjoy, the kind of task that Kohli and Pandya had to begin with, it was almost incredible, miraculous, really. And one will remember this for a very long time.
It was the greatest sporting event ever staged on neutral territory. The atmosphere with that crowd was unbelievable. We've never, ever seen anything like it at a cricket match almost anywhere in the world. But at the MCG, where you can stack in over 90,000 people, it was extraordinary, astonishing, as was Kohli, of course, in winning the game really single-handedly for India. And it seems to me, Charu, that every time India play Pakistan, and they don't play often enough, of course, the match comes down in T20 to the last over. I think the last 4 have been decided in the last over. And I was certain with 10 minutes to go, super over, here we go.
Stumped on the BBC World Service.
Well, here in the UK, October is Black History Month. It's a dedicated time to recognise the contribution and achievements of those with African or Caribbean heritage. And that is exactly what we're going to do for the next few minutes here on Stumped. And we're delighted to be joined by the first black cricketer to earn an England cap, Roland Butcher. Roland, welcome to Stumped. And give us a little bit of give us a brief background, if you like, your story from birth to coming through and playing for England.
Yeah, basically, I was born in Barbados, in East Point, St. Philip, which is perhaps the most eastern part of the island. A very rural area, not a lot to do out there besides sport and swim. And I got very interested in the game from a very young age. I guess I was fortunate that a family member, Basil Butcher, who was from Ghana, but his father was one of our clan in Barbados, was a international cricketer. And I guess watching him play, not in live, but seeing him on videos, etc., I guess that would have helped the motivation. But yeah, I grew up there, came to England when I was age 13 plus. Again, went to another rural area in Stevenage in Hertfordshire and really got an opportunity to develop there and play for the club, and then moved on to Gloucestershire as a youth player where I was recommended by someone from our club who went to work for Gloucestershire. And then I was sent to Lords for a trial for the MCC Young Professionals. And obviously being at Lords, they get a good chance to see the players on offer. And, they selected myself, Nigel Ross and Martin Vernon to have a contract the following year. So I joined Middlesex in 72 and stayed till 90, and fortunately was able to play for England in 1980-81.
Roland, nice to be talking with you. It's Jim Maxwell here in Sydney. And I think it's fair to say you're seen as a trailblazer, someone who paved the way for others. Did you realise the impact that you were having at the time?
I would say no. I think, Jim, when you get selected to play for a national team, all you can think about is that you've worked extremely hard. You've dreamed about this from being a kid, that you want to play international cricket. Here's the opportunity to play. I think all the other things surrounding that don't really come into play. You don't think about it. You just think about, wanting to play well, try and win the game, and go from there. It's only much later, really, that, the significance of my selection was made clear to me. Obviously, people start to tell you about it, and then perhaps you start to even think about it a little bit more. So initially not, but later on, obviously, it was very significant in how I thought I needed to ensure that others had the opportunity to follow me.
But how did you find it? Were you met with much opposition when you were picked from fans, from fellow players, or was everyone supportive?
Well, I guess it was mixed. I think mostly, obviously, Middlesex supporters. Actually, my first game was against Australia, which was ODI at Edgbaston. I can't remember too much in terms of backlash for that, but I did get one or two letters in relation to my selection to go to the West Indies in 1981. I remember this one black guy sent me a letter, and I can remember it to this day. And he said, "Dear Butcher, you have now taken black people back to the days of slavery. Judas got 30 pieces of silver. How many are you getting?" But there were one or two like that. But I think generally, everyone was really congratulatory and, wanted me to do well. And I'm sure that, other people could look and see and follow.
Hello, Roland. This is Charu Sharma from Bangalore for All India Radio. Roland, I believe you're currently on a diversity, equality, equity, and inclusivity tour of the UK. What does that involve?
Yeah, well, that's part of what I've been doing this year. As you know, I've been doing the county championship for the BBC over the summer. But in between that, I've been doing this tour of schools, universities. I've done a lot of corporate businesses as well, where I'm really talking about my lived experiences and working, as you said, in those areas of diversity, inclusivity, equity, and equality. And I think generally, I'm just really trying to send a message that it is not something to be afraid of. Diversity is a recipe for success. And I point out the fact that I played in the Middlesex side in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I played in those teams that were perhaps the most diverse teams in the history of the game of cricket, and perhaps maybe the history of any sport. Because if you think of the backgrounds and nationalities and cultures and everything else that we had in that setup, and I believe that was a recipe for our success. And as you know, during that period, we were extremely successful. So I'm trying to spread the message that, people need not be afraid of diversity. It really is an asset.
You make a really good point about how successful the English team was at that point of time. But strangely, the number of black British cricketers has dropped by 75% in the last 25 years. So do you think cricket in the UK right now is as diverse and inclusive as we would imagine it should be? But obviously the numbers are dropping strangely.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. 70%, 75% is a huge margin. Yes, at the moment, it is not as diverse as it needs to be. And the recent cases with Azim Rafiq and others have highlighted that fact. I am sure that all the counties are now and the ECB are trying their best to ensure that cricket becomes a little bit more diverse. I think a number of things have happened over the years whereby that diversity hasn't happened. I think one of the most critical things for me that has happened is that the rise of the public school cricketers. And that's come about because I don't think it was by design. I think what has happened really is that a lot of the ex-professional cricketers are now head coaches at public schools. And being an ex-cricketer, they tend to have a connection with current coaches who would have played with them or know of them. So you can imagine if a current country coach calls an ex-player at a school and asks him if he's got a couple of good players, and the coach says, yes, I've got so and so, he's likely to take notice of him because there's a connection between the two of them. They played first-class cricket, they know the standard, and the added bonus is that the public schools have got the resources, they have got great facilities, as I said, they've got coaches, they've got everything to assist cricketers to move forward.
Roland, you mentioned coaching, and 4 years ago, when you were with us on Stumped, we've dug it out of the archives, you did mention that Black and Asian coaches aren't quite trusted to do as professional a job as the others. Do you still believe that to be the case, or have things changed?
I don't think a lot has changed. I'm hoping that it will change as a result of what's taken place, but you've only got to look at the setups and you will see that there are very few coaches, very few managers in any sport, not just cricket. A lot hasn't changed, and that's the case with more sports, and it needs to change because, as I said, I think diversity is something that has worked for me. I know it has worked. I believe that, given the opportunity, that there are a lot more minorities that can certainly step into those important roles, and that in itself will then give motivation to others to believe that they can achieve as well. And at the end of the day, the entire country will benefit.
Roland, it's been a pleasure speaking to you as always. And we know that October is Black History Month, but we know that on Stumped, it's important to recognise and keep these conversations going 12 months of the year, not just in the 1 month of October. But it has been a pleasure to have you on and to be reminded of your story in particular. So good luck for the rest of your inclusivity tour around the UK, and we'll hope to see you again on the programme soon.
Yeah, thanks, Alison. It's a great pleasure. And October is also my birthday, so
happy birthday.
Double celebration.
Happy birthday from all of us on Stumped. Roland Butcher, thank you so much for being with us. That is Roland Butcher, who was the first Black cricketer to play for England. Well, that was all we've got time for on this week's Stumped. So my thanks to Jim Maxwell and Charu Sharma and to all of you for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Till then, bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC sport production for the BBC World Service in association with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and All India Radio.